Hello everybody, and welcome to the first webinar organized by the Dutch drone manufacturer Atmos UNV and the company Geofly. My name is Mario and I will be your host today. I am very pleased to introduce today's co-host. It is James McLaughlin from the Atmos UAV, and he will tell you more about the Marlyn Cobalt, the VTOL drone, which we completed a mapping project of over 4,000 hectares. James, hello and welcome.
Thanks a lot, Mario. Thanks a lot. And hello to all of you out there as well. And thank you very much for joining us today to hear a little bit more about the Atmos Marlyn and also Geofly's project as well that Mario did with the Marlyn recently. So firstly, I just want to direct all of your attention down to the bottom of the screen. You'll be able to see some controls through Zoom. Most importantly, I'm going to direct you towards the button that says Q&A. So with that button, you can ask questions at any time during the webinar. My colleague Vasilis is going to be in the background and he's going to be answering some of those questions whilst we're talking. But also there are going to be some that we will deal with at the end. So if at any time you have any questions, feel free to just dive straight into that Q&A button and leave a question for us. Now, what we're going to be covering today is, firstly, I'm going to be diving a little bit into the Marlyn drone itself, some of the benefits that you can see from it as a surveyor. And then we're going to be handing over to Mario, where he's going to be talking a little bit about the project, about how it was done, some of the results that we got out of it. And then, of course, at the end, we'll be answering your guys' questions. Now, there will be some questions perhaps we don't get to, but for those who we don't get to, we will no doubt contact you afterwards to make sure that your questions all get answered. So when we asked you some questions before the webinar, whilst you were registering, a lot of you mentioned, in fact, over a third of you mentioned that this was the first time that you were seeing the Marlyn drone. And so what I want to do is I want to start from absolute first principles to tell you a little bit about how Marlyn works and basically what it is, where it fits into the market. So where does Marlyn fit into the market? Well, what it does is it is able to take the best of the three main categories of surveying drones. So that's multi-rotors, fixed-wing drones that are belly landers, and fixed-wing drones that are VTOLs. It takes the best of those and also takes out a lot of the negatives of those. So to start on the left, with multi-rotor drones, you are able to use the drones very easily. They're able to be very versatile, use a lot of different sensors, but their problem is that they're using all of their energy just trying to stay in the air. With a fixed-wing drone like Marlyn, what you're able to do is use those wings to stay up in the air. And so as a result, it's a lot more efficient and you're able to cover massive areas. And so with a drone like Marlyn, you're able to cover up to 260 hectares per flight. Now looking into the middle, there are also drones that are able to do that fixed-wing type area coverage, but you have to throw them into the air. And then when they come into land, they kind of land on their belly, like a controlled crash landing. Now, Marlyn doesn't have to do this. What it does is it takes off like a helicopter vertically. That's what VTOL stands for, vertical takeoff and landing. When it gets to an altitude of about 60 to 70 meters, the drone transitions its entire body into what we call airplane mode. And then it flies its survey, transitions back at the end of the flight, and then comes and lands all within a 2 by 2 meter square. So you get that versatility and the ability to operate from any area. Now, there are also other VTOL drones out there on the market that can cover big areas and they can take off and land in small spaces. But one thing is really separating Marlyn from all those other VTOL drones, and that's wind. So with the Atmos Marlyn, you're able to take off and land and survey in winds of up to 45 kilometers per hour. All other VTOLs out there are able to take off and land in winds of up to 30 kilometers an hour. Now, why is that significant? So if you look at some different locations around the world, wind is going to play a much bigger or smaller difference to your operations. If we just zero in on Rome, for example, if you're using a drone that only has a 30 kilometer an hour wind limit, then there are only going to be 121 days in a year which you can use that drone uninterrupted. This is based on publicly available weather data. If you use a Marlyn, there's going to be an additional 187 days that you're going to be able to use that drone uninterrupted. So that's 308 days in total. Now, if you assume that a surveyor farms himself out for about $1,500 or roughly similar number of euros, then that possible additional end revenue that you get as a user is nearly 270,000 euros. Now, that's something that not a lot of people think about, but is a massive potential benefit for you guys as surveyors by having that additional wind resistance. Now, how are we able to do this? Well, there's a few features that I can point to on Marlyn that allow it to have the features that I told you about just before. The first is having all 4 motors in operation during takeoff and landing. This means that Marlyn has perfect control in that takeoff and landing phase because it has control in all 6 degrees of freedom. And that makes it very stable. So you guys who have used DJIs and other similar multi-rotors will know how those 4 rotors, having those all in operation, make the drone just so much more stable. The second thing is Marlyn is a tail sitter. What does that mean? It means that it takes off on its back or on its tail, and then when it gets up to its altitude where it transitions between helicopter mode and airplane mode, the entire body turns by 90 degrees. That means you don't have to have any of those tilting rotors or anything like this, which add complexity and weight and, of course, an extra point of failure to the drone. And the final thing I'll direct your attention towards is just at the end of the wings there. These are rotating wingtips. This is a patented part of the drone, so it's something you'll only see on Marlyn. And it gives the user very fine control in that helicopter mode, and it allows the drone to lean into very high winds as well. And so when Marlyn comes into land in a very high wind condition, it's actually coming in on an angle to counteract that force of the wind. Now, when Mario tells you about his project that he did in a little while, he's going to be telling you about the survey he did with the Sony RX1 camera, which is a 42 megapixel camera that actually, unfortunately, isn't available anymore. But fortunately for you guys, we were able to upgrade our sensor to the Sony A7R4 61 megapixel full frame camera. What we've been able to do is affix that with a wide angle lens. That means you need to fly fewer flight lines in your average mapping flight and get a significant amount more area coverage. So it's a main difference that you might see between Mario's flights and now. If you order a Marlyn, you can access about 250, 260 hectares per flight, when previously with an RX1, it would be around 120 to 150 hectares per flight. We also carry a Topcon PPK module. So we actually have a technical partnership with Topcon, and we have partnerships with a lot of their distributors around the world as well. So this allows you to have tracking with GPS, GLONASS, Baidu, and Galileo, and in general, just get very good single-digit centimeter accuracy from the data that you gather. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Mario, and he is going to tell you a little bit about his project. So over to you, Mario.
Yes, thank you, James. I would like to say that the Geofly is a company founded in 2016. We primarily focused on the photogrammetry using drones and remote sensing. Our goal is to provide our clients with the highest quality data in the shortest possible time. We are also a distributor of the Marlyn Cobalt drone for the Croatian area, and we have a cooperation with the Atmos UAV started at the end of 2020. Today, we will talk about the project of Sveta Nedelja. So there you can see some images so that we have in the field. This is the project that we have finished a few months ago. In some of the photos in the field, you can see the challenges we faced from the different terrains and the powerful repeaters. Here you can see it, so the power lines and replacing telemetry with the corn stick, but everything went well. So since Sveta Nedelja has become a very strong industrial area in Croatia, there has been a need for the digitalization of that area, the construction of the new industrial complex, and their planning is a problem without digitalization. Since Croatia entered into the European Union, there is an increasing need for such a big project. The total area we mapped was over 4,040 hectares. We used the map between 2,000 and over 500 hectares per day. A lot depends on the weather condition. Temperatures were known to climb over 40 degrees, so the mapping area varied from day to day. We flew an altitude of 100 meters due to regulation in Croatia and the European Union as well. As James said, we used the Sony RX1 camera and we achieved a ground sampling distance approximately of 1.65 centimeters. We performed the georeferencing using the PPK method, using the Rhinex file, and we obtained the excellent result with a precision of less than 1 centimeter. What is very important is we captured over 72,000 images, and the total sum of all data were, I don't know, over the 4 terabytes, including the Rhinex file, the georeference photos, flight logs, etc. It took us approximately 15 working days to complete the mapping and the entire surface with preparation and georeferencing. So, how did we do that? Sorry. I would like to separate that in 3 steps. In the office, we are in the planning software Atmos Navigator, so we create a mission plan. After that, we go into the field and complete the mission. And the 3rd step was return back into the office and did the georeferencing. On the right-hand side here, you can see the Atmos Navigator software. Atmos Navigator is the mission planning software. In it, we define the mapping area, flight height, transitions from helicopter mode to the airplane mode, overlap percentage, and security parameters such as geofence and geofence ceiling. This software is very easy to use and works on the Windows operating system, but it's very important. So the next step was go into the field, and it was very important for us to define good position in order to have the Marlyn in our visual land of sight. Since the Marlyn is very big drone and large dimensioned, we even saw it up to the distance over the 2 kilometers. So we looked for the location in the middle of our mission. And also, as you mentioned, the navigator runs on the Windows operating system. Here you can see. And you can take any laptop into the field. So there are no needs for any tablets or other products. The 3rd step is return into the office, transferring the images and georeferencing. For this, we use the Atmos GeoTagger. You can see it here. You can see the mission here and flight trajectories, and these each points are a single photo. We go to the Rhinex file through the state geodetic development, and the result was very excellent. So what did we do next? So everyone is interested in the final product. Okay, that everything looks nice. You flew, I don't know, you mapped the big area, but everything's interested in the final product. Here you can see the final product combined with the orthophoto from the GeoPortal. Post-processing can be done in a software such as Pix4D, 3D Survey, Metashep, etc. Here you can see the orthomosaic obtained after processing. So you can see how the roads are perfectly connected, how the lines complement each other, and how everything is in one. You can also see here, you can also see on the lake that there are no gaps and the process data is really great. In these two photos, you can see here, you can see the Kerestinec castle. So I always wonder what was inside that castle. So you can see that inside the castle are just garbage cans. On the right-hand side, you can see the Rimac Automobile Campus construction site, which is being built in the Kerestinec near Sveta Nedelja. What are the advantages of Marlyn Cobalt? There are many, but in this project, the advantages of Marlyn Cobalt are certainly the wind resistance. In the field, the strong gust of wind suddenly appeared, and the wind was approximately over 30 kilometers per hour. But we completed the whole mission without any problem. So no worries, you can finish your mission even in the strong wind. Also would like to say that Marlyn is really easy to control. Taking off and landing, it's very easy and it's a pleasure to do it. It responds very quickly to all the commands you give it, and I would like to compare it in some terms with the DJI Mini. Also, definitely one of the benefits are the vertical takeoff and landing. It allows you to take off from almost anywhere. We often took along the embankment of the river or from the flat surface beside the road. I don't know. There is no need for a separate middle to land safely. Also, one of the benefits, definitely, and certainly a big advantage, is the high precision of the PPK model. The precision and the accuracy was, I know, less than 1 centimeter, what it's really great. Also, finally, I would like to mention another great advantages of the Marlyn. Marlyn fits in one bag. So that means everything can fit in one bag. Even the Marlyn is a big drone. It fits in your car. There is no need to additional equipment, van, transport vehicle. All equipment fits in one portable backpack, and that fits into your car, and you can take it wherever you need to. So that was a short presentation. I would like to thank you all for your attention, and we wanted to summarize this project and this presentation much as possible. And if you have any questions, we will try to answer it. So James, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Mario, for sharing. And to start off, before we dive into questions from the audience, from my perspective, I'm quite interested. So you had 72,000 images that you managed to capture during this project. Any advice for people who are doing projects of this size, or how you managed such a large volume of data that you generated with the drone?
Yes, the advice is definitely to be patient, and it takes a lot of time and patience to process such a amount of data, but it's definitely a profitable, and the results were excellent. So no worries, you can do it also.
So from a day of surveying, then how long would be your, say, PBK processing time to get the geotags out?
I know, I can't imagine that. Went to the map such a, I don't know, big area. I know the terrestrial methods, or with the plane probably. How would it would be more expensive than that we do with Marlyn?
Yeah, I can imagine. And you also mentioned about how the drone was very responsive to the inputs and things on the remote control. Did you have any situations where you had to trigger, you had safety situations or helicopters or anything like that where you had to trigger the safety events?
Yes, a good question. We have one situation. Yes, since the part of the mapping zone was nearby the Lučko, it's the military civilian airport, we have to be extremely careful. Although we have all the proven and the proven flight in the approved altitude, at some point we have to avoid a flying plane, and it was interesting because although the plane was flying in the higher altitude, it's difficult to judge when you are from the ground, is this appropriate altitude or not. But the great thing about Marlyn, so you can, I would like to say, pause your mission and take the manual control of the drone. And therefore, at one point, we took over the manual control, and I would like to say we step on the brake and to avoid the plane. So every time you can, your mission put on pause and take the brake and let the plane or the bird or everything to fly away, and then you can continue your mission. So also this is the one of the benefits of the Marlyn.
So when you say tap on the brakes, what was the actual action that you needed to take? Did you have to transition it in midair, or did you kind of have to turn to the right? What was the corrective action you needed?
Both. I would like to put on the brake, and after that, turn on to the right. So
yes,
just
okay.
to see where the airplane go. So, okay, the airplane flew in the higher altitude, but it's very hard to judge when you are I don't know, 500 meters away or even more. So in which altitude is your drone and on which altitude is the plane? Of course, the airplane was a much higher altitude because we was in connection with the Lučko airport all the time. So also they know that we are over there, but everything went well. But you never know.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely the big advantage of the Marlyn.
Yeah. Okay. And we actually have a good question from the audience as well. Was a standard sort of manned aircraft like a Cessna or so considered for such a project? Given the size, often that's used for big area projects like this.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Do you know from the customer side if they were if a manned survey aircraft rather than a drone was considered for such a project? Or were they only say focused on using a drone for this, the customer?
The customer, I recommend the drone definitely. If I know if some from our audience means in that. So as I mentioned, it's very hard to imagine that if you can go into the field in all terrestrial methods. So definitely, I would rather choose drone.
And what would the reason for that be?
Okay, the further reason is because I like to fly with Marlyn. It's definitely one of the reason, and definitely, as you said before, it reduces the cost and it will everything's go much more faster than I would like to say all the methods.
Mhm.
Since you receive the big accuracy, so there is no reason that you go into the field with, I don't know, terrestrial with the GPS station or total station or something like that.
Mhm.
Everything you can receive the very good data just with the Marlyn.
Okay. And actually, we have one other question, which is, does Marlyn have a C label for European regulation? So at the moment, we don't carry a C label. We're working with the European authorities to gain the approval for such a thing. The expectation is that by the end of 2023, Marlyn will be able to carry a C label. And that is currently under development and will enable all our European users to be able to fly within the regulations going forwards. And I believe that is all the questions that we have at the moment. And so therefore, I want to thank everyone out there for joining. It was fantastic to have you here to hear a little bit about the Marlyn drone. Thank you very much, Mario, for sharing your expertise about the project. And of course, if any of you guys out there have any questions further, feel free to get in touch with Atmos UAV. If you contact sales at Atmos UAV, that will go straight to me. And also, if you have any questions for Mario, you can put them right through to that address as well, sales@atmosuav.com, or leave a message to our website, and I can also put you directly in touch with Mario as well. So I thank you all for joining, and see you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.